Podcasting today from our studios in Vancouver, BC, Canada. Welcome to the show that confirms safety does indeed have a personality. This is a podcast unlike any other where we like to talk about safety differently and get to know our guests on a completely different level. This is the show where we not only get insight and professional opinion from our special guest on current and ongoing safety themes, but we also get to know them on a very personal level and hear what's on their musical playlist. Today, we are going to find out what kind of music moves our guest and what safety events move our guest as well. This is Safety Debris with me, Richard DeLong, and my Safety Debris partner, Tanya Steele.
Hello, everybody. I am so excited about our very special guest today, Kathy Seabrook, who I have had an opportunity to briefly meet a couple of times to see her in action, changing our world of safety. So I'm so excited to meet with her and talk with her today.
Yeah, me too. So our special guest today is from Mendham, New Jersey. She is described as a futurist, an EHS sustainability influencer, and the founder and CEO of her own consulting business, Global Solutions, Inc. She focuses her work with multinational and U.S. companies across a variety of industry sectors who happen to be focused on, as she likes to describe it, the company's human capital, their people. She also focuses on her clients' supply chain workers, leveraging the value of workplace safety and health impacts on operational, commercial, and health and safety excellence, creating value and sustainable, resilient corporate performance. She is a past president of the ASSP, that's the American Society of Safety Professionals, and holds the designations of CSP in the US, CFIOSH, Chartered Fellow in the UK's Institution of Occupational Safety and Health, and the Euro OSHM. In 2019, the ASSP introduced and began to award the FASSP designation for Society Fellows. It's a recognizable way to identify recipients of the Society's highest honor. She has a number of specialties and interests in the world of health and safety, and today we are going to learn more about those and what is playing back in her personal earbuds. Without further ado, please join Tanya and me in welcoming Kathy Seabrook.
Woo. Well, thank you. That's an incredible introduction, Richard and Tanya. Thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. It's all you, that's for sure. You know, and I'm looking at your bio and your resume, Kathy, and I would have to say there's probably some room left for improvement here because we want to officially declare you as a success in OH&S, if you know what I mean, right?
That's very kind of you.
Yeah, of course. I'm just kidding with you. In fact, I loved reading about your experience and your accomplishments. I'm very impressed with it all. Usually it's Tanya confessing that with all our guests that, you know, she's over the top with them. But today it's my turn. So I'm the one that is truly impressed by your accomplishments and your successful career. So welcome to our show. And thanks for joining us, Kathy.
Wow.
So Kathy, first to start off with, we're just going to cut right to some fun stuff because we're going to get into some of the professional stuff and some of the great things that you're doing. But we ask all of our guests what their favorite song or genre of music is, and because we want to get to know you more personally. And so we asked you, what is your favorite genre of music? And you said to us, I like a lot of different music. I like music that makes one want to move. Specifically, you said, which is my favorite, happy music with a great beat.
Yeah.
I love that so much. And so, Richard, why don't you play us a few snippets of that happy music for Kathy?
I'd love to. Here we go. Listen up, folks.
Father, help us and some guidance from above. These people got me questioning. Where is the love? Where is the love? Where is the love?
Somewhere beyond the sea, somewhere waiting for me, my lover stands on golden sands and watches the ships that go sail.
Lights go out and I can't be saved. Tides that I tried to swim against pulled me down upon my knees. Oh, I beg and please.
So there we go. A little snippet of some of her favorites: the Black Eyed Peas, some Bobby Darin, and Coldplay. Yeah, hip hop sounds of dance and pop music from the Black Eyed Peas. And Where Is the Love? Bobby Darin's 1959 hit, taking us way back beyond the sea. That's hopefully not dating you there, Kathy. And Coldplay with one of her favorites and one of my favorites, Clocks. So yeah, great songs. And so any reason why some of these make you feel really good?
So Black Eyed Peas in particular, that song, that's like one of
Mhm.
my all-time favorite. I'm a social justice gal, and I think
Okay.
anyone who's in safety and health is, to some level,
Yeah.
socially justice oriented. And I just love that song. Bobby Darin, yeah, that predates me by a lot. However, thank you, Richard. Um, However, it's just fabulous dancing music,
It
right?
is fun.
I'm talking
Yeah.
about beat, and it's just happy, and it's just, I don't know, it's a classic. And Coldplay, oh my gosh, what's not to like about Coldplay,
No kidding. Yeah.
right? Right?
Yeah.
I just,
Hands down.
Martin's amazing, and that band, oh, I mean, they're so bright if you actually know their lyrics and read their lyrics. Incredible meaning. So
Yeah.
yeah,
They're clever. Yeah.
very clever. Very, very, very bright people.
Speaking of bright, we have one in the room with us, Tanya, and I think we want to kind of delve into her professional side, maybe.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So we know, I mean, we've been raving on you already since you've been here, and before we started, we were already in awe of you being here. We truly are, you truly are extraordinary, and so you are extremely successful practicing health and safety as a professional. So, in your opinion, what are some of the top skills that you think a safety professional needs to be successful going into 2021 or even 2022?
Yeah. Oh, wow. So I would say, so first of all, thank you. You guys, you're the best thing for my ego today. Thank you. Thank you. I'm so happy to be here with you. Um, but seriously, um, I think having a personality is really important.
Mm.
Tenacious, being persistent. My favorite quote and people know me, is about connecting the dots. And I guess for me, I was just born with this gift, and it's a great gift. But it's being able to see where dots connect where most people can't see it. So for me, because we're talking about me, in terms of what has worked and connecting those dots, Steve Jobs, right? Maybe not the greatest personality person, but in terms of a business person, and somebody that influenced the world, and even in his passing, he
100%.
continues to
Yeah.
influence the world. He talks about connecting the dots, and he talks about being able to see a future, and connecting the dots. And I have my favorite analogy I love, and I'm talking to two Canadians who totally get this. In other countries, they sort of understand it, but they don't. Wayne Gretzky. You guys know Wayne Gretzky,
You betcha we do.
right? Big hockey people. So, highest, scoring today. He still holds the record. And when asked, why? What did you do? What's your trick? Kind of what you're asking me, right? What is your thing? How did you do that? He basically talked about the fact that he never skates to where the puck is. He
Mhm.
skates to where he thinks that the puck is going to go. So, I mean, it's like, connecting all these things in his head instantly and saying, this is where I need to be. And so he attributed that to his success. And for me, I would say it's the same. So between old Wayne and Steve Jobs, I feel like I'm in really good company in terms of understanding their success. And so what I've done, globalization. So I was based in the UK for almost 10 years of my life, working in London and then working out in the countryside. And it was domestic versus international operations, no matter where you were, whether you're a Canadian-based company or whether you're a US, Japanese, Taiwanese. And then you had the rest of the world. That's just how companies looked at it.
Mhm.
And when I moved back from the UK, Europe, they're different now, but Europe was one. And this whole concept of globalization wasn't a thing, and especially in safety and health. And I'm like, no, you got to manage safety and health the same around the world, whether you're in China or whether you're in Venezuela or whether you're in Texas or whether you're in Ontario. right?
Yeah.
You've got to manage the risks to your people in the same way. You've got to have the same level of standards. So anyway, globalization, management systems. I was always at like the forward part of that curve. And so when I talk about persistence, when I talk about tenacity, I will talk about patience, but I won't tell you that I have it.
Isn't
But
that the
when
truth?
you're at the leading edge of change, you gotta do that. So you can ask me another question, but I do have some other thoughts on that initial question if you're open to that.
Yeah,
Of
no, please
course.
keep going.
Yeah, carry on.
So for me, I think that safety professionals, this is what's exciting about what we do. We have the opportunity, if we choose, to basically engage with anybody in our organization. And I mean the CEO,
Yep.
big,
Mhm.
little organization, the CEO, down to that person who's closest to the work, right? Who actually is the closest in our world to the hazard, and everyone in between. We have to be able to speak the language of our business leaders, right? Boards of directors,
Mhm.
CEOs, suites, operational leaders, as well as the people on the ground. And we have to be able to mine out that information to know where those hazards are, to know where those risks are. But most importantly, we have to get the heck out of the way. And we have to let the people and the organization come up with the solutions and figure out, not us. And we get in the way a lot of times. And I don't know why. I guess it's job security. I'm not really sure. But I really have found, when you're asking me what success is, I have learned that my two greatest skills. One is asking good questions, and that's taken a long time to hone all of that.
Yeah.
And the second is actually listening to the answers.
Mm.
Those, to me, I think those are our superpowers as safety and health professionals, because man, can we connect dots when we listen to the people in the organization.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
true. Now, when you say sort of get out of the way, what does that look like? Like if we have our listeners who are listening and they're, driving in their car and they're going to work today and they're like, okay, I need to get out of the way. How would I do that? Okay, I know I need to ask questions. I know I need to listen more, but what else would that look like?
So getting out of the way means we're not the ones that are managing safety and health on a daily basis. It's the operations folks that are doing that. And so many times and I think we do it positively, there's nothing negative, but so many times we say, oh, we need to fix it because we know what the hazards are. And actually, we know what the control mechanisms should be. And oh, by the way, hierarchy of controls, I know I need to figure out eliminating. And if I'm not engaging those people that are working, like the foreman and the supervisor and whoever's making those decisions as to that product line or that service, I am in the way. I am the one that is the barrier to coming up with the best solution, the best control mechanism. Um, it's me. I don't have all the answers. But that group of people, I mean, folks that are familiar with lean and lean manufacturing and the Kaizens and the event that you do, you don't get input from one person, you get input from a collective and you end up with the best output. So that's what I mean about us getting out of the way. And we were born and raised to think this is our job, this is our expertise. So we need to provide solutions when in fact we need to be leading a group of people to develop solutions. So honestly, that has allowed me to kind of go everywhere in a company and not be afraid, frankly, especially when I was in my 20s, going, oh my gosh, I've got to talk to the managing director here. Just come up with the
Well,
right questions.
Yeah.
So, Kathy, you mentioned something just a few minutes ago that kind of struck a chord with me, and you talk about what makes a safety person successful, and having a positive personality and an approachable personality really strikes with me. That's how I've succeeded in my career. And I think we can all attest to the fact that we don't know everything and we don't have all the answers. But the one thing I could do was I could try and get along with everyone and try to get to know them and be approachable for others and allow them to approach me. And so I've always leaned on my own personality that way. And I've been a bit of a chameleon, and I think that's successful. And you also mentioned that Wayne Gretzky being, the leader in his trade, and still holds some records and probably will for a long time to come, if not forever. He said his dad had taught him to be the best that he could be in life, not just in hockey, but as a person, and be the best person that you could possibly be. And so, and I think that also comes out in his personality when we see him in the public eye, all the things that he does for charities and organizations and just life in general. He seems like a nice guy, you know, one of the guys that would live next door to you. I got a question for you. So where do you see the future of our industry? Where is the health and safety profession going, in your opinion?
Well, this is kind of aligns with kind of our role as safety and health professionals. Um, we are never going away. Safety and health is never going away. Look around us. We got COVID.
Yeah.
Hallelujah.
It's not going away. And who knew, right? And this is just one of many pandemics we may have in the future. I mean, I don't mean to say that, but
Yeah.
you know, companies and governments and people need to be prepared that you know, their masks are probably a way of the future in many cases. I think there's a lot of people, even post COVID, that will always wear their mask on an airplane.
Mm-hmm.
Not before, but now.
Yeah, but they will. Yeah.
Yeah. So sorry, ask me the question again. That you just, man, really hit on something that was like, I had to say that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So I'm kind of curious to know, in your opinion, where do you see the future of our health and safety profession going?
So thank you. So at the end of the day, safety and health's not going away, but the way we manage it, that's changing. And the way that businesses are aligning to understand the value that safety and health brings to their organization. So typically companies, you know, they're in business to turn a profit, right? At the end of the day, if they're publicly traded, the purpose of the company is to bring value, financial value, to their stakeholders, which specifically has always been the investment community, us, you know, as we invest, as well as the big investors. And what's happening is this confluence in the world. And if we as safety and health professionals really start understanding this business environment we're operating in, we can align and we can ride this wave. And again, COVID has really opened the eyes to every business. Every person in the world now knows what the word PPE, or the abbreviation PPE, means. Before, it was just geeky safety speak, right?
That's right.
For a company, I mean, it was our own lingo. This is an opportunity for us. So as I see trends, we're going to continue to have, you know, new hazards, especially as new products and services are developed, as new raw materials are created. You know, nanotechnology is no longer new, but you know, that was new at one point, and that produced obviously, as we know, health issues and other issues that we didn't even understand. So there's always going to be that technical side, and there's going to be that evolution. But to me, it's the management of, and I know that, I think Richard, you'd asked about, you know, safety too, and some of the other philosophies. And I think all of those philosophies are very good because they are really engaging people. They're engaging the whole workforce. They're looking, you know, the concept of looking at safety differently, right? The systems thinking, which I'm a big systems thinking gal. I mean, that's, to me, it's all about integrated management systems, not just ISO 45001, not just quality, you know, 9001, or environmental 14001. It is about the business. And that the business, like if you have an ERP, if you're trying to figure out where your finance, your resources are, enterprise resource processes, where they are in your company, that's a management system. Your maintenance group, they manage your management system. You know, their risk, if you will, is unscheduled downtime, right? That's like, they don't want that. And how do they manage? Well, they manage your management system, planning, right? And the preventive maintenance and inspections and plan, do, check, act concept. So, and this is what I try to help organizations understand is the integration, that interdependencies, which is systems thinking. And so, you know, we talk about safety differently and safety too. And the reality is it's not about safety, it's about the business. And that the business, when people say future, the future is every decision that is made by a company has considerations for the safety and health of their workers in everything that is done. And it's not like a bolt-on or oh gosh, did we think to ask the safety folks? It's like the safety folks are there. I mean, that to me is the future. But here's the rub. If I can just one more. Here's the rub. The rub is we as safety professionals are not future fed. we don't get this. We don't understand this. And I say this collectively, not individually, but collectively. And so that's where we need to go. That's where we need to get to really understand that business environment in which we're operating.
I love, there's a couple things that you said there that, well, first of all, PPE, right, is no longer, a word that people don't understand. I remember here, I know that you're in the US right now, but in BC, in the province that we're in, Dr. Bonnie Henry, who is our health, provincial health medical person that was giving us stuff, when she said the word hierarchy of controls on the news on live TV, I almost
What?
jumped out of my seat on my couch. And I'm like, people are not going to know what that looks like or what that means. And I just it was like this whole world of normalizing safety just to everybody. And so now when I go into a little retail store, they're talking about safety. We've always talked about safety in heavy industry and construction and oil and gas and manufacturing, but you're seeing, the Fairmont hotels, the big box stores. You're seeing walk-in little stores, little boutique stores that have little like COVID procedures on the front door and the hierarchy and the PPE. And I just, it's really cool to see that change begin to happen. But my favorite thing that you were talking about is the business side of it, managing safety around business. And it's true, this might not be our last pandemic. And we can't, in economy wise, we can't continue on the path that we're continuing. So if I want to stay in business and I want to be able to go through something like this in the future, I need to manage the safety of my workers and my clients and my customers, so that we can continue to make lots of money, hopefully millions and millions of dollars, so it keeps our economy going. So in saying that, and this is going to be a little bit off of our topic, but I just love that because nobody's ever really said this out loud, is safety professionals should know a little bit about business. And right. And a lot of them don't. They're just like, this is safety. And, they'll say things like, oh, my company's all about the bottom line. And we're like, well, that's great. They're supposed to be, but the bottom line and safety are one and the same. And so what would you say to somebody that is a safety professional? They're kind of in the middle of their career. They've done safety this certain way that we've been doing it for years. And now I need to learn about business. Where should I go? What should I take? What should I read? What should I listen to?
Well, that's a great question. See, you're very good at questions too.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So, and this is what I ask every seminar I do on this, every webinar I do, and the one I just did. I always say, okay, if they're working in a company, I always say, so tell me about your company. What do you know about your company's goals and objectives? And if they look at me and go, no, then I point them in the direction of their annual financial report. Get a lot of information on exactly what's going on in that CEO and that board of directors' head. And you also know the operational leaders. And then if they're a forward-thinking company, and a lot of companies, it's a license to do business these days, is to have a corporate responsibility or a sustainability report. And so if that's the case, man, you can glean a lot from that report across the business, right? So one, you're going to understand what's material to an organization, and all that means in business speak is that the highest consequence risks to the business, that should try to make this really simplistic, that it's going to impact the business and the decisions for all the stakeholders. So communities, customers, investors, your workers, as to whether or not they're going to want to work with you. So, talent acquisition or retention, all of those things kind of come into play. But what it'll also tell you is how your company values safety and health, because in every sustainability report, if they are aligned with the Global Reporting Initiative framework, which they typically, I think it's like 98% of the sustainability and CR reports are, they have to report on safety and health. So you will know about your company if you go to that sustainability report or the annual report. And if all they're doing is reporting on accidents and fatalities, it's not a value. It's a company, your company is definitely more forward thinking when they start talking about identifying those risks and talk about the plans they have in place to mitigate those risks, whether it's new risk assessment processes or incident investigation, whatever it happens to be. But that's like where you start. You kind of start, I always say, start wherever the person is. And all this stuff, you can read a zillion things, but it's not going to synthesize until you can apply it. And the practical application is your company. And then there's a lot of stuff out there. I mean, I'll plug myself because there's nothing, I could find anything out there. So if you go to my, it's just Google Kathy Seabrook and the International Labor Organization. And if you do that, there's they asked me to do a think piece, again, futuristic, forward thinking. And so I connected the dots for people, and it's short and sweet. So you can get like a real simple primer on how these things connect: safety, and health and safety, and this concept of human capital, which we'll talk later about. But that kind of gives you perspective, and that's a good starting point, because the reality is there's not a whole lot of body knowledge out there.
Right. So, when we were talking about the concepts and themes of safety, like safety two and that sort of thing, and you mentioned it's not necessarily about safety alone. When we talk about safety, it's about the business. That's the bottom line. I suppose it's also important to identify the fact that yes, it is about the business, as long as the business recognizes the value and truly appreciates what safety does for them and their bottom line. Isn't that true?
Yeah, no, you're spot on. And it's, it's funny, Richard, when you say this, it's sometimes it feels like a quantum leap, but the concept of value, when we think of value, it is like intrinsic, and it's like something in your heart kind of thing. But in the world of business, value equates to money. It equates to profit. But what is starting to transition is value based on what you just said, Richard. So, I mean, really, truly a sense that, your employees, your workers, they're no longer just cost, right? So you can furlough them during COVID, or you can downsize, whatever you're going to do, or, keep them off site. It's actually, what do they bring to the business that if you didn't have them, you wouldn't have your business. And that's a whole mental model change for a lot of businesses. But I'm telling you, the bigger companies are starting to get that. And people say, oh yeah, but you live in a small, or work in a small, medium-sized enterprise. And I get that. But the trickle-down effect is beginning to happen, because there's a lot of suppliers and supply chain, and there's an expectation of this. But yeah, I totally am aligned in your thinking, because it's not just the safety and health professional being able to communicate with the board, but it's the board and the C-suite leadership being able to meet halfway. And it starts with the people, and people don't like that term human capital, but investors and the world of capitalism, it's one of the capitalisms, right? Including manufacturing capitalism, or capital, human capital, natural capital, IP capital. All of those are part of what an organization, how they're valued in the business world. And this that I'm telling you, there'll be a lot of your people that are going to listen to this podcast and their eyes will glaze over. But this is what I'm talking about that we need to know. And you need to be able to be an investor, right? You don't need to know it to this level, but we need to be able to have those conversations to help the boards and help our business leaders see the value, and the value that you just described, Richard, not just the financial value, but the intrinsic value of people that are working in an organization.
Yeah, nicely said.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so we have moments, and I have moments, Richard has moments, I know, because we work together, and I'm assuming you have moments too, where you're really trying to get these business leaders to get it. You're trying to get them to get it. You're trying to lead them down a path. You're trying to ask questions, but you're trying to lead them, and they just don't get it. And I'm assuming you have bad days as well. Like
Oh, never.
Yes. Okay.
Oh,
Never.
that's
You
good to
never
hear.
have a bad day.
Oh dear.
So the question is because we know that you love music. And so if you're having a bad day, you're having that day that you're trying to communicate, it's not working, whether it's to workers or to management or to business or to the board, and you're sitting in your car and you need to cheer yourself up. What do you listen to?
Earth, Wind, and Fire, September. That is my song. That is the happiest song ever. I cannot keep sitting in my chair. If I'm in the car, my head's bobbing or something, or I'm clicking my fingers. But it like instantly kind of just flips the switch for me. Because, doing this change, or, transformational change in the world and with companies, and it's just not for the weak-hearted. It's not, both of you all do, right? All of us. This is what we're doing. We are org change people. That's what we're doing. And it's not easy.
Well, I'm going to pull up my crystal ball here, Tanya. I think I see a happy dance coming on. I'm not sure, but wait a second. Yeah, I think here it is. Yeah. Here it goes. Woo!
Do you remember 21st September? Love was changing the minds of tender while chasing the clouds away. Your love lifted me higher than I've ever been lifted before. So keep it up, quench my desire, and I'll be at your side forevermore. We were staying in Paris to get away from your parents, and I thought, wow, if I could take this in a shot right now, I don't think that we could work this out on the terrace. I don't know if it's fair, but I thought, how could I let you fall by yourself? Well, I'm wasted. Think about how many times I've had fallen. Spirits are using me. Lord, your voice is calling. What heaven brought you and me cannot be forgotten. I have been around the world.
Oh, yeah. What great music in your playlist. Absolutely fantastic.
I'm having a hard time sitting still. Yes, yes.
Yeah, some great tunes. So, what we just heard there, I'd love to be able to play all the music from start to end, but we just don't have the time, unfortunately. But Crosby, Stills, and Nash, Southern Cross, sometime in the early 80s, they released that. One of my favorite songs of theirs, absolutely. We also heard from the Chainsmokers with Paris. That has got a nice groove to it, eh? It's nice and tight. And of course, Higher and Higher, your love keeps lifting me. That's a good old classic from Jackie Wilson. And of course, your all-time favorite happy song from Earth, Wind and Fire and September. So have you ever seen Earth, Wind and Fire in
Oh
concert?
God, yes. Absolutely. Several times. They are amazing. Obviously some people have passed on, but
Yeah,
Mike
yeah.
Bailey, he is still good and he can still sing. And can I
Yeah.
say Paris is like my favorite place in the world. So
Is it?
that's why I love
Absolutely.
that song.
No,
Yes.
sorry, we're gonna have to edit that out. Sorry. No. Well, speaking of Earth, Wind, and Fire, I've had the pleasure of meeting a few of the guys from the horn section in person. Yeah, it was very cool. It was in an elevator in Montreal, and I was waiting to get on, and there was three dudes standing there with these beautiful big fur coats. This was back in the 80s. And I was admiring their coats, and I said, "Hey, nice attire there, gents." And they're like, "Yeah, man." Da, 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 da." And we're talking and talking and talking, and found out they were part of the horn section from Earth, Wind, and Fire. And we thought,
Oh my
yeah,
God.
they were in town because they were touring with Phil Collins, and Phil Collins jammed a lot with and used them as musicians on his recordings. And of course, as we're waiting to get into the elevator should open, and who's in the back of the elevator but Phil Collins? And so it was like the greatest day of my life.
My, that's quite a story.
Yeah.
That's
So it
awesome.
was fun. Yeah, it was fun to meet them. And of course, as we're riding up, they're talking about the show, and you come into the show, mate, and all that stuff. And I said, "No, unfortunately not." And they said, "We'll get you some tickets." So we went up to their floor.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
This is
they had the whole
exciting.
floor. They had the whole floor booked out. And of course, Phil had the floor above them. So he stayed on the elevator and said, my boys will take care of you. He says, "We'll see you." So we went up to their floor. They gave me 6 tickets to the show, 6 backstage passes. And of course, when I went down to tell some of my mates that we were going to the show, most of them didn't believe me. So I said, "Be careful what you say, because I'm holding the tickets." And here they are. And it was a lot of fun. So I've met a lot of musical performers from my radio career, but absolutely, that was one of my first times meeting celebrities from the music world. So it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
Man, that's a great story.
Yeah,
Wow.
that was cool.
It's a great story.
Isn't it? That's a great story. And that's Easy Lover, I think, is the song that Philip Bailey and
That's right.
did together.
Oh,
Yeah.
what a
Again,
great song that is.
a peppy, happy song.
Yeah, I love that tune. That was a great tune.
I can't believe you know that just by listening to a story. Oh, I know what he's saying. I know that song. That's awesome.
I'm a fan.
Yeah. Yeah. She's an Earth, Wind, and Fire fan. She'll know who Philip Bailey is for certain.
That's awesome.
Absolutely.
He's the voice.
Well, this has been truly a lot of fun, Kathy, and so glad you joined us today. I've truly appreciated this time together, and loved your music. I love music, just generally speaking, but it's always fun to tap into another safety professional's mind and see what's making them tick musically. So thanks for being here.
Yeah.
Oh,
Thank you so much,
you.
Kathy.
Thank you, Tanya and Richard. I've had a blast. This has been great.
Awesome. We're so
Fantastic.
glad.
Yeah.
Thank All right. Let me know if you need anything else.
Just want to remind our listeners to not forget and tune in next week for our next incredible safety interview. And remember, don't let anybody ever tell you any different. Safety does indeed have a personality. We'll chat with you next week. We hope to see you then. Bye for now.